And from China's vaccine fraud, we turn to China's deep state. A secret network of power which plumbs into depths that democracies can barely imagine. A network of agents and organizations that are embedded all over the world in governments, in corporates, in embassies, even universities. But the most chilling aspect of China's global network is this: secret police stations. We've told you about them before. Beijing has been operating them all over the world, using them to monitor, intimidate and harass all kinds of dissidents. Basically silence any form of criticism of the CCP. We've been carrying reports on this for quite some time now. Tonight, I want to tell you how this network is crumbling down. Look at this headline. China has shut 2 secret police stations in Prague. Let me rephrase that. China has been forced to shut down 2 secret police stations in Prague. I say this because the scrutiny around these police stations has heightened. Governments the world over have started inspecting what happens inside them. We'll tell you about that in a bit. First, let's discuss what happened in Prague. Reports say these police stations were shut down after the Czech Foreign Ministry intervened. It built pressure on China around its operations. China responded by seizing all operations in Prague. And this is what the Czech Foreign Minister had to say about this. Allow me to quote. Czech diplomacy has repeatedly raised the issue of police stations with the Chinese side. I discussed it with the Chinese ambassador this week, and he assured me that those in the Czech Republic have been closed. This development comes barely a month after the Netherlands took a similar step. In November this year, the Netherlands too ordered the closure of an illegal Chinese police station. This police station was being used to silence dissidents. The case of one of them stood out. His name was Wang Jingyu. He was a Chinese citizen who openly criticized the Chinese government on social media. That's not something you hear every day, and as a result, he was granted asylum by the Netherlands. Soon after he arrived in the country, he started getting messages from Chinese officials. Wang said the Chinese officials asked him to go back to China to sort out his problems. He was also asked to think about his parents. Wang seems to have ignored these early warnings, but the Chinese officials didn't stop there. Their threats intensified. And this is when Dutch authorities had to step in. They launched an independent investigation, and the investigators termed these police stations as illegal. There's no other word to describe them. They've now been shut down. So the Netherlands and the Czech Republic have taken action. What about others? Well, they need to play catch-up because these police stations are conducting coercive activities under the radar in a host of countries. The scale of the operation is massive. Just take a look at this. These are the countries which already have a Chinese overseas police station. Going by one report, there are at least 54 Chinese overseas police service centers in existence. They are spread out across 5 continents and 21 countries. Reports say there could be more countries with such police stations in existence. These stations are an extension of the Chinese state overseas and a means to keep Chinese citizens in check, beyond the physical borders of China. They pose a serious challenge to the sovereignty of independent nation states. Here's a statistic for you to consider. From April 2021 to July this year, at least 230,000 nationals returned to China. They were persuaded to go back and face criminal proceedings. Reports say these police stations have played an important role in this campaign. This begs some questions. Who does China think it really is? How can it conduct such activities on foreign soil? How can it be allowed to police the activities of its nationals in other countries? And how is it getting away by operating such police stations in secret and yet in broad daylight? Would any other country be allowed such transgression? That's something to think about. Now, to answer these questions, we'll have to first understand the reach and influence of the Chinese regime. Look at this report now. It came out in December 2020. It gives us details about an explosive data leak which was obtained by an Australian newspaper. The leak said around 2 million Chinese agents are embedded all over the world. Now, before some of you begin to question the leak, let me say this. The CCP, or the Communist Party of China, is the second largest political party in the world. It has close to 92 million members. That's practically everyone and their grandmother in China. So 2 million is not an extraordinary figure, and yet this leak was extraordinary. Because these 2 million people it talked about were hardcore CCP members, men and women committed to the CCP ideology. They reportedly operate as Chinese agents in foreign entities. They work with power brokers, with policy influencers, even government advisors. It doesn't end there. China is tapping foreign politicians too. The Communist Party of China has a special department for this purpose. It is called the International Department. Its job is to cultivate relationships and win support for China among foreign political parties. According to one claim, the International Department alone maintains ties with 600 political groups in more than 160 countries. So is this how China gets away with operating secret police stations? It certainly seems to be the case. Because you can't be conducting discrete activities in a foreign country without infiltrating the country's corridors of power. And this is exactly what China seems to have done. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.